Hi guys, welcome to week 7. Are we already on week 7? Holy macaroni! Welcome to week 7. This video is going to be an overview of a little bit of what happened in class. Kind of walk you through it if you missed class. Also, if you were in class but you were distracted or you just need a refresher as to some of the strategies that we're practicing. We're doing annotating, where you're actively reading. We were doing clustering, the note-taking or brainstorming strategy. Those were the two that we focused on this week. But really tying the clusters and the brainstorming to the rhetorical triangle and to the readings. We started with Henry David Thoreau's piece, and we looked through that. And then we jumped over to Martin Luther King's piece. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm on the home page here, and I am just going to click on, let's see, the Justice Reading Packet, which is the one I handed out in class. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. It's a PDF. I just scanned the file so you can read it either in your packet or you can read it here. Let's see, we're going to rotate it with this feature here. Bam! If you missed class a few weeks ago, we actually read this introductory piece. It's the history of justice theory. So the main thinkers and this whole theory of justice, really important to understand kind of the larger conversation, as they say and they say, I say, and then really pinpointing the scholars that we're looking at. Remember, we have this larger conversation about what is justice, what does it mean to have justice, in what ways does justice manifest itself in society and for the individual, and then those main speakers that are in that conversation, and then looking at where Henry David Thoreau is woven in, where Martin Luther King Jr. kind of goes into justice and picks up the conversation left by Thoreau and others, and then also Martha C. Nussbaum. She'll be our last reading. So if you're watching this video, a friendly reminder that next Monday, or next week, excuse me, if you're in the Tuesday class, on Monday your 2-page reading response is due. If you are in the Thursday class, on Wednesday next week, your 2-page reading response for Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience is due. So again, I just opened up the packet. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through it. We're going to keep on going. So here's Thoreau's piece. In class, just as a reminder, we went over the reading, we slowed down a bit, and we annotated. We circle, highlight, underlining information. That's one of the features of annotating, is connecting with the actual piece itself. I'm going to go ahead and skip over Thoreau. Close your eyes. You could get vertigo. And bam, here we are with Martin Luther King's piece. Martin Luther King Jr.'s letter from Birmingham jail. So what we did in class was we actually clustered Henry David Thoreau's rhetoric by taking the rhetorical framework and throwing it out in the cluster. We had message, purpose, ethos, situation, audience, and we kind of we applied it to Thoreau. And so your task was to do that with Martin Luther King Jr.'s piece. So let me see if I have it. And so remember, for your next essay coming up soon, you will be able to decide which of the readings you would like to do. And so a lot of the pre-writing and brainstorming, super important right now, because it's going to help you decide which of the pieces you actually want to do. So here's a mini one that I did for King in class on Tuesday, just as a reminder. So instead of doing the rhetorical framework or rhetorical triangle, instead of doing the rhetorical framework, I did the rhetorical triangle. And so what I did here was I just took King, and then I looked at the different components. I have ethos, pathos, and logos. And then within my brainstorm, I'm kind of fleshing out those ideas. What is King's ethos? What is his persona? What are his credentials? How can I trust what he's saying? And so I just have a few notes on here. One of them is theology. He has a PhD in theology, so religion. He's very familiar with the Bible and the Gospel. He uses lots of references to St. Paul. and aiding others, helping others, serving others. So those are some things that kind of resonate for me with Martin Luther King Jr.'s ethos and credibility. So again, the more brainstorming that you're doing, the more you're fleshing out ideas and writing, the easier writing's going to be when you're asked to create and sustain a longer idea in an essay, right? So one of the problems writers have when they're writing is they're not sure, what do I say now, right? And so brainstorming kind of takes away the whole what do I say now dilemma, because you fleshed out so many ideas that instead of saying, what do I say now, your question is, what do I say next? I'm going to look at my cluster and what can I say next? What wonderful thing of all these ideas do I get to choose from, and what makes the most sense to my reader to talk about in the next paragraph? So again, as far as what happened in class, we went ahead and we listened to Martin Luther King's piece. If you log on to the discussion for this week, which is King's, you'll see two videos. The first one, if I click on it, you'll notice is him.
My dear fellow clergymen, while confined here in the Birmingham City Jail, I came across your recent statement calling my present activities unwise and untimely. Seldom do I pause to answer criticism of my work and ideas. If I sought to answer all the criticisms that crossed my desk, my secretaries would have little time for anything other than such correspondence in the course of the day.
So here we have Martin Luther King reading the letter, the first 2 pages of the letter. It's brilliant. It's beautiful to listen to. And then we stopped in class and we noticed the moves that King is making. And this particular part of his piece, which if you are looking at the online version of it, it's this part right here where he's kind of addressing the readers. Remember, this is a letter, so the rhetorical format is that it's a letter written to clergymen. King is responding to the clergymen who accused him of not being patient enough in the fight for civil rights, with his support of those demonstrations, peaceful marches with Black Americans to raise their voice regarding the injustices of segregation and not allowing Black people into restaurants, the exclusionary practices that were a breach of civil rights and violating the laws that were in place to protect Black citizens. And so this is King's response while he's in jail. So this is written while he's in jail. So the move that we're looking at here as far as rhetorical move is he makes it very clear to the clergyman, hey, I'm a very busy person. I can't stop to answer all the criticism that crosses my desk because a lot of people are critical of what I'm doing. However, I'm going to respond to your ideas regarding my expediency of addressing civil rights because I feel like it's important and worthwhile. So King kind of sets that tone of respect in the letter. This is really, really important, and it's a very big difference between King's rhetoric and Thoreau's rhetoric. You can tell the tone is very different. So again, they both want something, but their tone is different. So I'm just looking at this little part here. You could grab any paragraph and analyze it rhetorically, and that's in fact what you're doing for this discussion. Your task is to finish the reading, check out the videos if you'd like. The first one is King in the first 2 pages in his voice. And then the second one is the original letter written to King by the clergyman that was published in the newspaper and made public. And then King's response to it read by someone. So again, this is about an hour. It's the original piece written by the clergyman and then the entire reading of Letter from Birmingham Jail. So either way, you can just read it if you want, but if you prefer to listen to it, you can do it slowly while you're annotating your reading. Your task here is to post 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is choosing one sentence or part of the letter. That could be an entire paragraph. That might actually be easier. That you find intriguing and share it with us by telling us what stood out to you from the quote and why you picked it. So push your thinking a little bit further and tell us how the quote you pick relates to other discussions on justice in today's society. And then for the second paragraph, you're connecting the line or the chunk that you picked from King's letter, and you're actually relating it to the rhetorical triangle or framework. And so there's an example of how to do that. And then again, you're always responding to other people, reading other people's ideas in class, and then responding to them thoughtfully, engage with them. And then here I am practicing ideas from they say, I say. So you can actually know how to respond in an academic way, in an intellectual way, to another person's ideas. So that's what's happening with this particular discussion. One of the features on here is for you to make a solid cluster in your journal that you can use for your 2-page response to King's letter next week as you're drafting that, if you haven't already. I'm just going to go back to the home page. And the second discussion is moving into the next chapter, chapter 1 of They Say, I Say. We did the preface, we did the introduction, and now we're moving into the actual chapters of the book. The chapter is called They Say, starting with what others are saying. So King in his letter is a perfect example of starting with what others are saying. King addresses what the clergymen have said to him in his letter. So he starts with what they're saying and formulates his own response to what they're saying. But remember, you always have to set up what other people are saying before you chime in with your own opinion. I found this video on YouTube. I'll just click on it. It kind of overviews the chapter.
Hey guys, welcome to the video over chapter 1 about They Say, I Say. This is just going to be kind of a quick overview and review. Make sure you are still reading the chapter though. This is just going to kind of hit the high points.
So again, this is an overview of the chapter. You want to critically skim the chapter and take very good notes in your journal. That's your task here. You can make bullet points or cluster the information. But remember, your journal is graded. It is worth points. But more importantly than those points, it's your opportunity to flesh out and connect with ideas that you encounter. So again, that's what you're doing here for this discussion, is you're going to read and annotate part 1, chapter 1 of They Say, I Say, and then you're going to hop onto the discussion board and share your thoughts. You're writing a paragraph where you're going to do 2 things. You're going to apply this chapter to your essay, Stalker and Dreamer. The question here is, did you do this for essay number 1? So the question is, did you do this? This being, did you set up the conversation about Stalker and Dreamer and summarize Goldberg's views before you jumped in with your own viewpoint? And then the second question is, apply this chapter to your 2-page reading response and rhetorical analysis of Thoreau's civil disobedience or King's letter from Birmingham jail that you're working on or should be working on, right? Are you setting up ideas first before you engage with your own viewpoint? So that's what this chapter is all about, practicing They Say, I Say moves and really understanding the significance of setting up the conversation by starting with what others are saying. So that is week 7 in a nutshell. I'm just going to go back home as a reminder of a few things. This week, you have 2 discussions right here. You've got your 2-page reading response right here to Henry David Thoreau. If you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing on your reading response, you're going to look at your schedule or just click at the schedule online. You can open that sucker up and scroll down to the section that says 2-page reading response right here. So these are the directions for what I'm looking for, and this is how it is being graded, right? So with the Goldberg piece, many of you kind of picked quotes and you were kind of looking at those quotes and connecting to them and relating to them, and that's all wonderful, fine and dandy. For your reading response with Henry David Thoreau, you're kind of pushing it to the next level where you are specifically connecting to Thoreau's rhetoric. What is his tone? What is his message? What is his purpose? How does his tone, message, and purpose affect you as a reader, affect you as the audience? What kind of effect does his rhetoric have on you? Is he serious? Is he angry? Is he pissed off, right? And then point to places in the text where you see that. That's the rhetorical analysis part. So again, with the next reading response on Thoreau, I'm asking you to push yourself further beyond what you think you're capable of and really connecting to rhetoric. If you're not sure what I'm asking you to do, the directions are here. They're in your packet that I printed out, and they're also in the assignment when you post for Thoreau and for all of your reading responses. Good luck this week. Please post any questions that you have in the Clarity Found Here discussion on the discussion board. Remember, that's the first discussion here. Here. If you have questions or concerns, you can post them here, and then someone else or myself will respond. And then we can kind of work out ideas together. So remember, if you need clarity on something, post it here. Otherwise, keep on working, keep showing up. That's the key to success. Show up and do your best. Have a great week.